right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the listening public, the beautiful people here on the island of Nevis, our brothers and sisters over in St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to our friends and family in the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada, wherever you are this evening, even if you're down there in Belize, Guyana, wherever you may be. I say good evening to you and welcome to another edition of On The Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and we're here every Wednesday, from 8 to 10 p.m. for 2 hours of commercial-free talk radio. We're here and have been here for the last decade and a half, sharing with you on a Wednesday evening all that's current and, of course, getting your feedback and getting your suggestions and recommendations. This, we feel, is an ongoing exercise in freedom of expression, and this platform that we have created here with the assistance of the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, VOA Radio, has allowed us to reach hundreds of thousands, if not more, over these years. And we are thankful for the privilege of being here. And I use that word because I understand it to be a privilege. And I trust and hope that when the history of this island is written, that this show will be remembered for its willingness to embrace all shades of public opinion and its access and providing access to ordinary Kiddishans and Nevisians at home and abroad and others to pick up their phones and call in and share their views. On this show we welcome all opinions. We do not, however, welcome disrespect or discourtesy, and we say call in, be as passionate as you wish to be, but please be respectful. Be respectful of our standards that we try to uphold, and be respectful of VON Radio, where only the best will do. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I would ordinarily go into a lengthy soliloquy and speak for maybe a half an hour to an hour sometimes on various topics. We, however, have tonight divided into sections, if you will, and this is, of course, as we all know, the Culturama season. And because it is the Culturama season, some of our leading artists choose this platform and have chosen this platform over the years to release their music and to, if you will, launch their own efforts for Culturama. And they do that, I believe, because this is a platform that is widely listened to, and so I welcome that. I think it is an indication of their confidence that this platform can reach the world, and they, of course, want the music to reach the world. Having said that, I am here this evening and joined by a perennial favorite, somebody who I am advised has competed in every single Culturama except one.
Except two.
So every single. So this year, 48 years of Culturama. And I speak of none other than Keith Scarborough, MBE, also known as King This and That. That is his stage name. And I think that he has been one of the leading calypsonians in Nevis, in St. Kitts and Nevis, and in the region over his long career, spanning some 48 years of competition. He has not missed but 2 of the 50 years. I believe that that speaks volumes for his commitment and his dedication to culture, to Nevis, and to the art form of calypso. So This and That, the King, welcome to On The Mark.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for giving me the opportunity once again to release on this widely listened program. But I just want to correct you on one thing. It's 49 years that I am singing. It's just that there was no Culturama in 1983.
Forgive me. Forgive me.
That's what happened. Yes, I'm happy to be here once again, and I know the fans has been calling left, right, and center. When are you going to release? So I took my time this year. Normally I'm a little earlier, but this time I decided let me wait until the last Wednesday in May and do that. So I am here this evening to release for the fans and for the nation and the whole.
Well, this year, This and That is a big year.
It is.
This is 50th anniversary, and I can't speak for you, but I don't believe I'll be around for the next 50 years. I don't believe I'll see the 100th anniversary. So,
I don't think so either.
So I believe that this year it's all hands on deck. This year you're putting all the eggs in the basket. This year is the big one in terms of calypso. We would have had a big one for 25, we would have had a big one for 40. But 50 years, of course, is a significant milestone. And you have been a part of it, as you say, for 49 years. For all of those years, you have been there, you have participated, you have been win, lose, or draw. You have been consistent in terms of your contribution. What has given you that longevity in your view?
Like I normally say, is the love for the art form. I have a great love for it, and I have been blessed with the ability to write, arrange, sing, perform. So I'm fortunate to be one of those persons. And like I say, I love the art form. So the place in the competition doesn't really deter me too much.
That's interesting, because I've heard a lot of people. In fact, I recall there was a young person, and that young person entered their first competition and said to me after the competition and the judge's decision had been made that they had been cheated and they would never perform again because they had been cheated. I have been in the audience for some of those years that you have performed, and I believe that there have been occasions when you must have felt aggrieved,
of course,
that you did not get the place that you think your songs and your performance warranted, but yet you come back year after year.
Of course.
So you base that on your love of the art form.
Of the art form.
And so for you, even if this and that place last,
I've been there. I've been placed last couple of times under the other guys.
I like the way you say you've been placed last. You didn't place last, you were placed there.
I was put there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, King This and That is here. And he's not just here to shoot the breeze with me. Much as I love to talk to him, he's here because he has something that he wants to put on the table for Culture Armor 50. So King, tell us a little bit about this song that you have done, and I am assuming it's something special you've created. You say you took your time this year, you're a little later than usual, but it is something for C50, Culture Armor 50. Tell us a bit about the song.
It's a song entitled The Dream, and the song speaks by itself as usual. Normally when I write a song, you tell the entire story, and this one is no different from the others. Well, this one to me is well suited for the occasion, and like I said, the title of the song is called Their Dream.
Their Dream. And I am assuming that this is the premiere of the song. It hasn't been heard publicly yet.
You haven't been heard any place.
Any place. All right. So we have been given an exclusive here at Von Radio, and on the mark, this platform has been chosen by King This and That, who I believe has won the most crowns in the history of calypso on the island of Nevis.
And St. Kitts.
And St. Kitts. So he has won the most crowns in Nevis, St. Kitts. He is the most crowned individual as a calypso singer and as a calypso king. Like him, don't like him, you cannot deny his contribution and the fact that he has been at the top of his game for all of these years. And so, the song, the name of the song?
Their Dream.
Their Dream. This is King This and That for Culture Armor 50.
It's our 50th anniversary. Finally here. This song is dedicated to all of the members of the Nedax group. From the king. 50 years ago this thing was a dream. Brought to life by a chosen few. They call themselves the Nedax team. Today we witness their dream come true. Their dream produce King Miko and me. David Swim and John Gold Brandy. These men and women with no money to help them started out on this great journey to showcase the cultural history. They never know how far they would reach or which folk know they will teach. So let's not forget their struggles at all as we celebrate this Golden Jubilee Festival. Not at all. This Golden Jubilee is a big anniversary. It's time to celebrate our cultural legacy. It's mass and folklore, state band and much more. We're found in galore, people burning on core. The greatest summer line in the Caribbean region. This cultural festival is really second to none. The founding fathers must be honored. Raise your glass, let me hear you say, hip 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 hooray. was unknown. Culturally to the outside world, we had no festival of we own. Until the needed scoop took control. They dream, produce queens like Hazel Glassford. Kamara Louise made us well proud. The Dax had a vision of this cultural explosion. Now that our talent has been exposed, where we could go only heaven knows. This festival is now number one throughout the world and in the region. So as we celebrate this great festival, let us not forget, it's the needed scoop who start it all, not at all. This golden jubilee is a big anniversary. It's time to celebrate our cultural legacy. It's mass and folklore, state band and much more. We're falling galore, people burning encore. The greatest summer life in the Caribbean region. This cultural festival is really second to none. The founding fathers must be honored. Raise your glass, let me hear you say, hip 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 hooray. Thank the Dax for the part they play. Hip hip hooray. 50 years of mass, so what about they? Hip hip hooray. Tell all of them His Majesty say, hip hip hooray, hooray, hooray. Hip 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 hooray, hooray, hooray. Hip 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 hooray. All we have to do, my friends, is support. Make sure this dream continues on. They dream, produce clowns and masqueraders. They dream, that will go and cakewalk dancers. All this cultural flavor that we have to offer is what the Dax Group had in mind when they created this summer line. People come from far and near for this cultural set every year. Politicians can't wait at all to fet and spree, and sometimes hijack the festival. Milano, Milano. This golden jubilee is a big anniversary. It's time to celebrate our cultural legacy. It's mass and folklore, state band and much more. We're falling galore, people burning encore. The greatest summer life in the Caribbean region. This cultural festival is really second to none. The founding fathers must be honored. Raise your glass, let me hear you say, hip 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 hooray. Thank the Dax for the part they play. Hip hip hooray. 50 years of mass, so what about they? Hip hip hooray. Tell all of them His Majesty say, hip hip hooray, hooray, hooray. Hip 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 hooray, hooray, hooray. Hip 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 hooray.
That is King This and That for Culture Armor 50. You have heard it here on the Mark for the very first time, and so this is a world premiere of his song, his first song for Culture Armor 50. I asked him earlier whether or not he would give us more than one song, but he only gives us one. and then makes us wait for the next one. So King, this and that, that is your first composition. I love it. I think that it is an incredible ode to NIDACs and the founders. Without them, we would not be here celebrating, and I think it's important for us to give thanks and give recognition to those who have contributed, many of whom have contributed in the shadows, meaning that they have never asked for the limelight, they've never asked for their names to be called. And in fact, I had a conversation with one, Irma Johnson, and I believe I can call her name. She was one of my favorite teachers. But Irma said to me that it really was an effort by all of them. And so this song really doesn't pick out people, but rather gives credit to NIDACs. And I think that that's very, very important. And I want to commend them. Many of them are still with us, thank God. And even for those who have passed on, we must remember their contribution. You mentioned some big names there. The man who I believe everybody has seen as your main calypso rival, Miko. You mentioned, of course, the sweetest fifer, Freeman. You mentioned, of course, Jogo, the man on the kettle drum, who they say was the greatest of all time. So you mentioned some of the greats in that song.
And the Queens as well.
And the Queens as well, yes, of course. Kamara Louise and, of course, Hazel Glassford. And I believe Hazel went on to win the Miss Sinkits Davis Queen. Both of them did. Okay, well, I remember Hazel. I believe I was, in fact, at that show that night. So it really is a song that brings together all these various strands. I wanted to ask you, I know our time is limited, but before you leave me, I wanted to ask you, what gives you the inspiration? The reason I ask you is this: singing for 49 years, competing for 49 years, each year, besides the love of the art form, that's one thing, but love doesn't necessarily lend itself always to creativity. Love doesn't always give you a topic, give you a melody, give you a song, what your lyrics. You have to be in a particular frame of mind, year after year after year, as I said, win, lose or draw, to continue to create music. And sometimes in this life, and I've heard it, people say, man, this is them a sing long time. Let them move aside and let some youngsters come in. And I always say to people, but this space is there for whoever wants to come.
Exactly.
It's not like you're taking up somebody's space. The space is there for who wants to come.
All, it's open to all.
And a lot of times I find that, maybe, okay, it's the 50th, so some fellows jump in the ring, and then they jump back out. And then every couple of years they may jump in. And I wonder sometimes at the ability to consistently produce. And in my humble opinion, I'm not a connoisseur, but I would say consistently produce at a high level, year after year after year. Listen, not even the biggest artists in the world, Michael Jackson, Prince, you name any of them, were producing music every year.
Yes, true.
Look around at the big artists. They have a big album, they ride that wave for about 5 years. In fact, the last music festival I went to, they had some band here. Can't remember what they call it. Was it Air Supply?
Yes.
Air Supply was singing songs from before I was born. They never make a new song. They haven't made a new song in 40 years.
That's true.
Right? So, the ability to just continue to create. I've always marveled at that, King. And you're here with me. Where does that come from?
Well, I was very good at poetry in school, poetry and literature and history, and I happened to write fairly decent. And like I said, driven with the love for the art form. And then I play music, because if you're going to sing calypso, you got to be playing some instrument. I play guitar. And my colleague as well, Miko, you also plays guitar. Once you're going to be singing calypso, you must be able to play some sort of instrument. So I have the ability of playing the guitar, writing, and the love and thing for poetry and literature and everything. And of course, the love for calypso. So all these things come together. And normally a topics come, it's how you deal with the topic, because topics will come to your left, right and center. But when you want to deal with that topic, you must have not relevance to topic. Or too many persons write song and the first verse is saying this, the second verse going a different way. You have to be relevant to topic, you have to be melodious, First thing for me is melody. I don't care how good the lyrics is. If the melody is not nice, it shows it off.
So somebody appears to want to get in on the line. I don't know. Okay, the person has left, or they're here. Good evening. Hello?
Good night, Andy Mac.
Well, I didn't open the lines yet, but you're on
I
the...
know, but I was good night. Then got much money on my phone. Take care. Tell everybody hello.
All right, my dear. All right, thank you. Have a good night yourself. God bless you. I thought there might have been somebody, King, who wanted to comment. That's why I took the call in terms of the song. But the point you're making, so you start with melody.
Melody. You gotta have a melody.
Then so you work backwards from the melody. How does it work?
Right. Once you gotta have the melody. Well, with me, I have the lyrics and the melody going together. I have that ability to once I write a line.
So which comes first in your when you're composing?
For me, the melody.
Melody
The
comes
melody
first.
has to.
Okay.
You know, you get that boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, and you fit in the words. You know.
As you go.
Yes.
Somebody's on the line. Let's see if they want to talk to you. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hey, good night, man.
Yes. Good evening.
Hey, listen up.
Good evening, boss.
Like, you should call Toby name in the song there.
Chubby.
Toby. Well, you know Toby Hatto?
Yeah. Well, I was dealing with Midax group and their contribution and everything.
He come clean twice.
Yeah.
In 1 year, in 1 year.
I hear you.
Yeah, but anyway, you are done so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Said Chubby came king twice in 1 year. He said.
Yeah, because he was Carnival and then Culturama was right after.
I see. That's useful history to know. All right, King, this and that. Thank you for being here with us. I regret I don't have more time to spend with you, but we do have some other issues that we wanted to touch on. And thank you for agreeing to come, even though you knew it would be a limited time. And thank you for using On the Mark as the venue, the platform
As
to
always,
share.
if you want the nation to hear, you better come on the Mark.
Well, thank you very much for that. And that is the King speaking.
Let me thank you once again, Mark, for giving me the opportunity. I look forward to next month then to release song number 2.
All right.
Which is going to be Troublesome.
Good. Troublesome. The song going to be troublesome, or you may call it troublesome?
The song is going to be Troublesome.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Good. That is King This and That, Keith Scarborough, MBE, who was rightfully awarded the MBE for his tremendous contribution to culture. And as he said to us tonight, he's been singing for 49 years. 49 years. And he has competed in 48 of the Culturamas that have been held. That is a remarkable achievement, and so we thank him. He has released tonight a big song, and of course it will be for you, the public, and ultimately the judges on the night to determine whether or not he has achieved enough to be crowned yet again Calypso King of Nevis, the man who has won the most crowns in St. Kitts and Nevis, King This and That. Thank him very much for having been here. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to deal with that because that was, of course, something for our Culturama, and King This and That did ask me if he could come, and I had confirmed with him. But I want to start with a fairly somber topic this evening, and it has to do with the tragic circumstances surrounding the killing of a young mother in the Hamilton area, young Joel Huggins. She was brutally cut down by attackers, and her brother Julian suffered tremendous life-threatening injuries. Julian has been hospitalized, but of course Joel is gone. Now Joel leaves behind her mom, Omel, her brother Thuggy, Kimoy, better known to many of us as Thuggy. She leaves behind, of course, her brother Julian, who's hospitalized. But for me, what is most vexing is that she leaves behind a 13-year-old son, young Rondo. And I have known this family for a very long time. And I've known Joel for a very long time. And the one thing I would always say about her is she had a remarkable spirit about her. She had a remarkable aptitude for work. She worked hard, and her life revolved around taking care of her son. I believe that her relationship with Rondo was a very special relationship. And I don't and can't really find the word to describe how I feel, because we use as politicians and as people words, and words have meaning, to be sure, but sometimes words are inadequate. Inadequate because the absolute utter senselessness, the foolishness of some of these actions. Who benefits from Joel's passing? Who? The person or persons who committed this heinous crime. What is the benefit to them? When we're going out there and we we put in whatever we put in, we coke up ourselves, we smoke our crack, we drink up whatever we have to drink to harden ourselves to go out to commit acts of violence against people. What is it we get from it when we wake up the next morning and realize that an entire community has been plunged into mourning? A mother has lost her daughter, brothers have lost their sister, and a youngster has lost his mother. Who among us is so hard-hearted and cold-hearted that they don't care? And if there are people among us, and it has to be that there are because this incident happened, then how do we deal with them? How would they feel if somebody were to go after their family in that same way? We must start to think about these things, start to think about each other. And we don't need to be Christian. We don't need to go to church every Sunday. We just need to have empathy and feeling towards others. I can't understand how a young man would have his wife, his children, his girlfriend, his loved ones, and he feels love towards them, but yet feels so much hatred towards other people. In all the time I've heard about young Joel, I've never heard Joel involving herself in any kind of untoward activity. Never. So why cut her down? And what is the benefit to that? Do you pat yourself on the shoulder and say you've done a good thing? Because you have not done a good thing. You've done a horrible and terrible thing. The community of Hamilton has been torn asunder. Persons are on edge. A community which is an upper middle class community, a quality community, great houses, great families living in that community, torn asunder by these acts of violence. And why? I try to talk to some of these youngsters and they tell you stupidness, and that's the only language I could use. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything tonight. They tell you stupidness. Oh, this man dissed me when we were at school. Imagine somebody 30 years old is telling me that somebody dissed them when they were in high school, when they were 15 years old. Somebody told me that a man gave him a bounty. I said, what is a bounty? The only bounty I know is the paper towel. They say, no, the bounty is when you watch a man bad. So I said, people are dying because somebody watch you bad? That is the level of senselessness and stupidity that has captured our community. You're dying and killing, willing to kill because a man watch you bad. Somebody watch you and suck their teeth or hurls an insult and you're willing to kill over that. And when you go out and you're willing to kill, let us not forget that there is something called retaliation, and a lot of these things are tit for tat, butter for fat. You kill my dog, I kill your cat. It has to stop. It is absolutely, utterly stupid and senseless. And I don't understand all of you out there. And let me speak to that. Because a lot of you out there cuddling this foolishness. A lot of you out there hiding the gun. You all know what's going on. You're going to church on Sunday. You're going to work on Monday. And you're grinning and skinning with people. And you know what your loved ones are involved in. You know what your boyfriend is involved with. You know what your son is involved in. And you protect it. And then when something happens to them, when they saw the wind and weep the whirlwind, you run and you start a ball. And everybody cuss the premier. And they cuss the prime minister. We need, ladies and gentlemen, to do what is right. And if what is right means disciplining your own children, disciplining your own loved ones, telling them that what they're doing is wrong and they cannot do it in your house, they can't do it anywhere around you, then that is what needs to happen. Because our society and our community and our country is bigger than any one person. We are here in Nevis and as a government. Every Wednesday we sit down in cabinet. We go to the parliament. I am here on radio. We are trying our best in sometimes impossible circumstances to keep this island of Nevis on the right path, to keep us developing, to provide jobs, provide better health care, better education, better roads, better water and electricity, better infrastructure. And you have some out there whose only purpose is to create violence and havoc and disrupt the community. Sometimes 1, 2, or 3, not many. But they have an army of enablers around them. People, when they do their bad, they run and hide. And you tell them, come in here quick. Let me tell the police you were with me all night, when you know the person wasn't with you. And then when we sow that seed, we are sowing weeds, and we expect to reap good fruit. Where are you going to reap good fruit from weeds? If that is what you sow, then that is what you shall reap. And if you sow the wind and reap the whirlwind, who then do you go and cry to? I am appealing, because we have prayed, we have asked the police to do more, we have cursed the government, we have cursed the pastor, we have done all of this. But at the end of the day, crime comes from us. We are the ones who produce criminals. That collective we, because crime is a social problem, it comes from the society. Every individual involved in criminal behavior is somebody's picnic. Every individual involved in criminal behavior is somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's boyfriend, girlfriend. And somebody knows what they're involved in. And so, when we all decide that we're going to sit back and push our head in the sand like an ostrich and ignore, and in many cases not just ignore but condone and support the activities of criminals, what then do we expect? People talk about the police. And can the police do better? Absolutely. All of us can do better. But police can't be everywhere all the time. The most effective police forces in the world are the police forces that have what? The cooperation and assistance of the population. The police depend on you. When you see something, that you can say something and help us to rid ourselves of these criminals. But if you see and decide, you not talk, you not say nothing, you not say nothing to nobody, me not see nothing, you become deaf, dumb. You can't see, you can't hear. But then you turn around and say the police need to do more. But if you see and you refuse to say, what more can the police do? You need to do more. The community needs to do more. And that is why I have said, as I matured in my life, I am not going out there blaming a soul. I recognize and understand that the buck stops with those in leadership. Premier of Nevis has his role to play. The Prime Minister and Minister of National Security must play his role. And when the nation mourns because of these activities, we absolutely must take responsibility. But I'm saying the responsibility cannot be for the leader alone. The responsibility must also be for you, the parents, who got criminal children and know you have criminal children, but yet you swear to God that they're saints. You know you have the devil living in your house, but you pretend that you have Jesus living with you. The blame must also be shared by those who are hiding the guns, those who are to man our borders, who are cooperating with criminals to bring contraband into the country. Those who are charged with protecting us, who are instead seeking to assist and cooperate with the criminal element. All of you deserve some element of blame as well. The girlfriends, the boyfriends, who hide the money here, hide some drugs there, hide this gun there. Something just happened, I need to cool out, so I'm going to run come Nevis and cool out in Nevis. All of us are responsible. And until we take an all of society approach, until we stop this finger pointing and say, it's you and not you. Me not got nothing to do with that, it's you. We need to take a step back and realize that what crime does is it ultimately damages all of us. Joel is the latest victim, the latest fatality. But so far in the Federation, we have had 14 young lives lost to gun violence. 13 on our sister St. Kitts and 1 on Nevis. And what has our nation gained? I will answer for you, nothing. But what has our nation lost? We have lost young lives and all the potential that those young lives had. In the case of young Joel, we have lost a hard-working young woman, excellent at what she did in terms of hospitality. Her mother has lost her daughter, and her son has lost his mother. This isn't somebody struck down by disease or even accident. This is somebody struck down by senseless, stupid violence committed by senseless, stupid people. And maybe some may say my language is the wrong language, but really, what language should we use now? People are fed up. One young man sent me something, and I issued a statement when I woke up that morning to hear of this tragedy. And the young man said to me, he said, Mr. Brantley, thanks for the statement, but we don't want any more statements. He said, we don't want to hear any more words being spoken, whether by politicians or by others. What we want is for this to stop. And those words cut me like a knife, because ultimately that's in fact what everybody wants, for this to stop. And I really want to know what it is has happened in our society, where our young people now are in a far better place than the generation before them in terms of material things, in terms of comforts. And yet, in all the material comfort that they now have, their response is crime and violence. And their hearts have hardened. You know, if we had had war, we had had persecution on our land, we can say, well, these young people grew up in that environment of war and violence. But that is not the Nevisian way. We have not fought any wars here. People are working 2 and 3 jobs. People are making money. They're buying cars. They're investing in house and land. The island is developing. People are going away to college. Opportunities abound. We don't see nobody in Nevis now going to school barefoot. We don't see anybody having the level of deprivation that we used to have in the generation past. Our people as a rule are far better off than we ever were in our history. So what then is this about? Young people, you have opportunity. You no longer have to leave Nevis to find a job. You have scholarships being offered, not only for academic training, but for vocational training. You have the government partnering to offer loans and assistance to start your own business. You have program after program that is put there to train, to pass on skills. You have people who are hiring, want young, industrious, hard-working people to work. We're living now in nice homes with indoor facilities, flush toilet, nobody have latrine again. And in all of what is happening, in all of the human development that we have seen, our people, some of them, have gone backwards in terms of their behavior. I remember there was a murder here in Nevis. I want to feel it might have been in the early 1970s. The brutal killing of Mr. Jones in Charlestown, Samuel Jones. And so rare was that type of occurrence that this entire island, I remember as a little boy hearing about this, and the entire island was in mourning, the entire island was in disbelief. And think about 1970s Nevis. People didn't have no electricity, we didn't have water. You went to school barefoot, didn't have enough to eat. The idea of a holiday someplace outside Nevis was unheard of. We had things hard. And yet, nobody used to thief. Nobody used to rob. Nobody used to kill. Nobody used to defraud anybody. We were poor, but we had respect for people. We had love for people. I ran into Irving Thompson's son. Those who from Handers Road will know what I mean when I say Irving Thompson. OT, as they used to call him. And I saw him recently and I said, "Young OT." And he laughed. And the reason I mention his name tonight is because when we talk about love of people, Irving Thompson, OT as he called, had a little shop in Handers Road. The building is still there. And people like my mother, who were poor people, would actually take goods from him on credit. We used to call it trust. We used to trust goods. Pound of flour, pound of cornmeal. Trust it. Because you had no money. And then when my father at the end of the month sent a little money from America, we would go and we settle up with Mr. Thompson. We had a lady called Tiny Drew, Mrs. Drew, from Government Road. A poor woman with her own children struggling to raise them. And she used to come down Handys Road with a suitcase on her head selling clothes that she had made. She was a seamstress. And when she came and my mother was looking for little pants for me to go to school, she had no money to pay. And Mrs. Drew said, "It's all right, Vicky, take the pants for the little boy and pay me when you can." Poor people helping poor people. Not when Miss Drew coming down the road with her suitcase on her head, somebody trying to stick her up to steal her goods. She from her own poverty was willing to help other poor people. Take the little pants for Mark and pay me when you can. That was and has always been our society. So where does little rascal come from now? Where they come from, who brought them, who raised them, who have unleashed them upon us. Because things have actually become much better now. Now you don't have nobody like Miss Drew walking around with suitcase selling. No. Now everybody here goes online. And they ship what they have to come in. KDP Enterprises and all the others. They go online, they order what they want, or they go into the store. They say, I'll take the blue and the green and the yellow. And in fact, add in the purple too. Music festival is coming in. You're going to see everybody in their finest at music festival. And Culturama and CPL and Mango Fest is coming. And yet, even as we now have the comforts of life, our hearts have become hardened towards each other. Anybody, and I say so with no water in my mouth, could brutally attack and kill a young person, a young woman like Joel. Something is wrong with them. They are sick. And I hope they're listening to me. They're sick, sick people. And I think that this society needs, as a collective, to say, there's no room in Nevis for you. There is no room in Nevis for you. And stop this cuddling and, oh, not my son is a nice boy. Because I know not true. You know it's not so. Let us call a spade, and let us start to talk the way we're supposed to talk and deal with these things the way we're supposed to deal with them. Otherwise, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. I feel so much sorrow because this is just, in my view, an escalation of the violence and the coldness, the cruelty, the brutality of man's inhumanity to man. That is not Nivision. That is not Kitishan. That is not who we are as a people. And I don't know where these scallywags come from. I really don't know what kind of households would have raised them, so their hearts could be so filled with hatred and violence and enmity towards their fellow man. And the reality is, in many cases, we don't even know. It could be your neighbor. It could be your villager. It could be somebody you went to school with. So many times they come and they commit these crimes, and you don't even know who these monsters are within our midst. But somebody knows. You and I, as a general public, even the police may not know, but I guarantee you somebody knows. And I'm appealing tonight to those who know. Please, I beg of you, speak to somebody. Let us together rid of our island of these elements, because these elements will only destroy us and destroy what we are trying to achieve. I extend my deepest condolences to Omel, to Thuggy, to young Rondo, and I extend my prayers to Julian for a full recovery. And I ask every member of the community, especially those in Hamilton, please assist our police and let us root out this criminality from our midst. This is my fervent prayer, and I am hopeful that those who are listening, that their hearts will be touched, their minds will be touched. And these words that we use often, but sometimes we don't mean, that we should put our country above ourselves, that those words will be given some meaning. Because if you're encouraging, enabling, cuddling, and providing support and succor for criminals, you are not putting your country above yourself. You're elevating foolishness, in my humble opinion. Foolishness over what is best for your country. And that is what I feel we need to do, and all of us need to sing from the same hymn sheet. We must hold our leaders accountable. I'm not discounting that. But at the end of the day, no policeman, no premier, no prime minister, no minister of religion, no principal in the school can know what is going on in your household, can understand the dynamics of who is enabling and providing comfort and support to criminals. Crime is a social problem, and it requires an all-of-society approach to solve it. And so tonight I can do no more than extend my condolences and my prayers to Omel and the family, that they may be comforted. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. My name is Mark Brantley, and if you're just joining us, we are here from 8 to 10 on the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio. Tonight, prior to coming here, I attended briefly a service that is put on by the Christian community here, and tonight it was held at the Methodist Church, a tent in Charleston. And that service is staged each year by the Christian community to ask for God's mercy, and that He would spare us as we approach the hurricane season, which, as we know, commences on June 1st. As I listened briefly, and I said briefly because I had to leave so that I could come here. So, I have a standing appointment here for 8, and the service was at 7. And so I regret, because one of my favorite pastors, Pastor Freeman, was the one who was speaking when I left. But I reflected that as we were praying as a community for God to have mercy on us and spare us the ravages of storms and hurricanes this season, so too we must pray as a community that God will spare us from crime and criminality. A hurricane can do devastating harm to us. An earthquake can do the same. Any natural disaster can do the same. But man-made disasters such as crime can also do the same. And so I ask all of us to pray for God's deliverance, His grace, and His mercy. In the context of the hurricane season, we had a report from Mr. Brian Dyer, who heads our disaster response in Nevis. And Mr. Dyer said that all the forecasters are saying that we are going to have an above average or hyperactive season. Some are predicting as many as 30 named storms this year. And they're saying that anywhere from 5 to 9 of those will be superstorms. Of course, God, not man, controls the winds. God, not man, controls the rain. God, not man, controls the waves. And it is God that controls the weather. And so I think it was fitting that yet again the people of Nevis were called to prayer. And even if you were not there, I'm asking all of us to pray for our safety, the safety of our country, the safety of our region as we enter into this hurricane season. Nevis is doing well. Our tax revenues and our government income suggests that we are moving in the right direction. For the first quarter this year, our revenues are already up around 7% over the first quarter last year, and as high as 17% over the first quarter in 2022. Our hotels are doing well. In fact, I was surprised to learn that the Four Seasons, our flagship, had occupancy during this month of May in some periods as high as 96%. Ordinarily, as you know, at this time of year, the season is over. But we have kept chugging along. And we have a lot more to happen because the hotels are all full for Culturama and our homecoming. So many families here are having reunions. I can think of the Jeffers family. They are coming in their numbers. They are coming in to reunite with each other and with their family here at home. Some are telling me they have 150 strong, others 100, 120. There is a tremendous level of excitement about Nevis and where we are at this point in our history. I want our people, all of our people, those who were born here and those who call Nevis their home, to share in that prosperity and to help us to prosper even more. As a government, our vision for Nevis is that it must be a shining beacon on the hill. It must be the best place in the Caribbean to live, to work, to do business, to raise your family. To do that, we must have peace, we must have security, we must have vision, we must have the economy that generates the jobs that people can work and feel comfortable. We must have the housing and the education, the water and the electricity. We must have the health care. And if those of you who are fair look at what we have achieved, you'll say that definitely we have been moving in the right direction. But an errant few is all it takes to derail the hard work of the majority. And so I continue to call on our people to do our best. Will we make mistakes? Of course we will. We are not superhuman and we are far from perfect. But let us try to do the best that we can for ourselves, for our families, and for our island and our country. That has to be what motivates us day by day. And when we get up each morning, we must ask ourselves, what can we do today to help our country? If I'm doing a job, how can I do it better, to the best of my ability, so that those who come into contact with me will say that I am a good representation of this land that has given us so much, this beautiful place called Nevis, this federation called St. Kitts and Nevis. That has to be, ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeking to do and where we are seeking to go. Because absent that, it means that all the blessings that we've had here, all the progress that we have made here, would really have been wasted on us. The island is moving demonstrably in the right direction. The statistics show it. The quality of life our people is enjoying show it. Just drive around Nevis, look at the quality of housing that you see, that people are building. Up and down, in every nook and cranny. Just drive through Charlestown. See the number of construction sites in the heart of Charlestown. People are building, creating, spending. Go up to the call center in Brownhill, where over 100 people are now employed. Go to the call center in town, where I'm told about 30 people are now employed. I'm told a third call center facility is being constructed as we speak. Look around us and see what is happening around us in terms of development. Villas are being built. Private homes are being built. The construction sector has been doing well. The government has been doing its part. Infrastructure, roads, water, electricity. Jobs are plentiful on the island at this point. The numbers don't lie. And your eyes don't lie. Restaurant trade Restaurants are popping up. Sometimes I wonder where the people are going to come from to go to them. But clearly investors are seeing that there's an opportunity. And yes, there will be naysayers. Yes, there will be people who, despite the obvious, will say that it is not so. But that's okay. That's okay. Because when Jesus came, he was perfect. And he was sent by his Father as his Father's only Son to die for our sins. And yet, he came to make that ultimate sacrifice to save us who are not worthy. And yet he was criticized and ostracized, ultimately crucified. And some may well say, but if they crucified Jesus, then who are we? Mere mortals, mere humans, and sinners all. But that does not mean that we should not aspire. And we should not wake up each day and say, let us do the best we can. And when we fall down, we get back up and continue to try to do the best we can. And if there's one thing that I want to be said about my leadership, is that I tried through every forum that I was afforded the opportunity to encourage our people to be the best that they can be. And in that pursuit, there is no place for criminality. There is no place for those who refuse to work, who want no part of anything that is productive, but whose only effort is to sit back, denigrate, and criticize. I well recall the story of a man who's never played cricket one day in his life, but sat in the pavilion each day and criticized vociferously every stroke that was played on the field of play, every ball that was bowled, every catch that was dropped. And then somebody said, well, why not go down on the pitch, onto the field of play, since you seem to know so much? We can't build Nevis on those kind of people, because they have nothing to contribute. We must build it on those who are willing to work, to go down on that field of play and to engage. Win, lose or draw. Engage. And if they lose, they get up and they try again. That is how we're going to build this island. Let us go to the phones. They are ringing. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hi, good night.
You're on the air.
I'm on the air. Thank you. I've been trying to get on for some time. I don't have much time. I don't want to be on the phone too long. I don't want to keep you too long. I just want to have a few minutes to say something. This is the first time calling into your show. I have a little issue I would like to shed some light on. You hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Alright, good. I'm calling you from St. Kitts. I'm having a little issue. I used to have a booth in the complex a long time ago.
You had a booth in the complex, you say?
Yes, the old kitchen with a booth with Nevis for Culture Ammo.
Okay,
When I first moved into that booth, it was empty. Somebody used to use it for a storeroom. So she advised me, hey, when you don't go and pay for this booth, you can get it to use. I started using it. I had been using it for 8 years after that. The then government, NRP, was in power at that time. The upcoming year, they took the booth from me, gave it to a supporter from Cotton Ground. I tried to get the boat back. I tried to do everything to get the boat back. Couldn't get it up. Mr. Daniel told me, don't worry, man, I'll get it for you. I'll sort it out for you. I never got that boat back. Anyway, fast forward to 2 years ago, I got another boot in the complex again, one of the smaller ones. It was also empty. Someone was using it for a storeroom. I had it for the culture a year before last. Now, last year I couldn't get the boot. I was told somebody else had it. So I was like, but I used it last year, so how can somebody else get it now this year? They gave it to somebody else. They told me they gave it to somebody else with the intention that the person who had it before me came back for it. They didn't want it the year before last, but they came back for it. Fight. Only to find out it is a lady from St. Martin who they gave the boot to. Alright, cool. I didn't have a boot last year.
When you say lady from St. Martin, you mean a Nivision or Kittitian living in St. Martin or St. Martin person?
Neither Nivision. She's St. Martin. She's French St. Martin.
Okay.
She has a boyfriend from Nevis.
Okay.
He is from Nevis, but she's from St. Martin. She's the brain of the operation. She runs the business. Anyways, I've been trying to get at the booth since January this year, because I said this is what I go for every time I have a boot. I try to go as early as possible, put money on the boot, and to assure it, because I've been having so many issues with all kinds of people. Abernathy, Suti Byron, they're trying to take the boot from me every year. So if I don't go and pay for it early, I have issues, because they're saying, oh, he's from St. Kitts and he should have no boot up here. They've been always saying that. A lot of NRP supporters used to make noise and say, oh, well, how come he from St. Kitts and he gets a boot and we up here and we can't get one? No, I moved into the boot, it was empty. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
They took it. They eventually got it from me. I lost it. Okay, good. This one now, I've been trying to get it back, and they're telling me, I tried to pay in January, they said they're not taking any money. I tried to pay in February, they're not taking money. March, April, the same thing. April, they told me, oh, somebody already paid for it already. But you're refusing to take my money to hold it for me, and then now telling me somebody's paid for it already. Oh, you can't pay for the boot yet, it's not time to pay yet. But you are telling me somebody else has the boot. Okay. Just for argument's sake, they're giving it back to the person they gave it to last year. Because the lady told me, one of the ladies in the cultural office told me, oh, we're trying to give the person who had it the year before first preference. So I asked her, so what happened to me the year before she had it? Where is my preference?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's discrimination.
Well, caller, I have not heard this. This is news to me.
Well,
I can.
I've seen you a few times. You know me exactly. Because every time you come to St. Kitts, you see me. I'm the guy who sells fruits and vegetables in 4th Street.
Okay.
You know me very well.
All right.
Every time I see you, I said, boss, I need to talk to you, and we never get to chat.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my telephone number.
Okay.
And
I think I'll give you my phone as well.
Well, if you can send me a WhatsApp, identify yourself, and of course share your number with me.
Give me the number again.
My number is 662 6003. 662 6003.
All right, good.
I do not like what I'm hearing, because there is no discrimination in relation to how we treat with these matters. We should be treating with them in an open and transparent and fair way. And if you have had a boot all the years, I am not understanding. I'm not understanding why it is you are saying that this is the case. So I would need to investigate a bit more. So if you can send me a message, I will be on the air until 10. But I assure you, I will look into this, and no later than tomorrow, I'll get back to you. All right?
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're most welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. It is 10 past the hour of 9 o'clock, and of course, we're here until 10 o'clock taking your calls. So let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the air.
Lord, Miss Sheriff, good evening, how are you?
Good evening to you, good evening to you.
Sympathy is going out to Omen on behalf of the daughter.
Yes.
I'm still afraid me and the girl let talk down the way. The night me here so much talk. Ecclesiastic 12 verse 13 and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and kept his commandment, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Have a good evening. May God continue to bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am very grateful for your call and for your scripture, again, of your choosing, and for the fact that you have stayed with this show all these years. You have been consistent, and so I thank you for that. We're taking your calls at 869-469-1616 and at 869-469-1700. Those are your numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show this evening. We have touched on a few things, disparate topics. We had, of course, King This and That, who would have released his first song for Culturama 50, an ode to Nidax and to the founders of Culturama. We would also have had a conversation, more of, I suppose, a monologue about the current situation with crime in the country. And, of course, I would have raised the fact that we are, in my humble opinion, moving in the right direction. Even as tonight, the church is met for service to ask for God's protection during the hurricane season. We are taking your calls and inviting you to participate in the conversation this evening and to determine, of course, where we go, to put your topics on the table, whatever those topics might be. Now, I had occasion to visit our Culturama complex and village, where we are doing, as we have said, some significant renovations and upgrades. And I have to share a story with the public. The story is this. Last week, if you will recall, I had a caller who called in and was quite angry and upset, saying that we were wasting money doing the projects at the complex and at the village, and remonstrated very strongly with me that this was bad government, poor governance, because we were squandering money when those improvements are not going to make the festival any better. Now, he's entitled to his view, but he was very strong in terms of the negativity that he brought. The following day, I got a call, and somebody said to me that they were astonished that this caller would have been so negative and would have called in and remonstrated with me so strongly about the improvements that were being done at the Culturama village and complex. And I said, why? He's entitled to his view. I didn't agree with him, but he's entitled to his view. He said, well, the reason why I was so astonished is because is up there the young man working? I said, what? He said, yes, the very project he called in on the radio to cuss. Is that project paying him every week? That's where he's working. And I thought that was quite interesting, because I would not have thought that somebody who's actually involved in the project, working and getting a pay every week for working on the project, would call in the radio and cuss the project and cuss the government for doing the project. If you've ever wanted a case of people cutting off their nose to spoil their face, that to me is a case. I can't make this stuff up. Sometimes you see the politics is so in us that we chat stupidness, we do stupidness, we behave in a foolish way, because what we are focused on is the politics. And the politics of the day, Nevis, is no matter how good something may be, say it bad. No matter how hard rain falling, say we got drought. That is the nature of the politics. So this individual, motivated by the politics of opposition, is in fact opposing himself, because the man cost the project. And when I asked the person, I said, well, he just started working there. He said, he worked there from the start. From the minute the project started, that's where he working. Every day, every week, he collect his pay. And he come on radio and he lambaste the project and the government for doing the project. That is why I have coined the phrase, ignore the noise, And And people tell me I'm rude to say so. It's not rude, you know. You have to ignore the noise sometimes, because when you get down to the bottom of it, you realize that it's just a clanging cymbal. It's just an old empty drum. Bragadam, bragadam, bragadam. Noise. No substance. No thought that goes into some of these loud protestations that we hear across the radio. Yesterday, Tuesday, I had my press conference. And I'm very proud of the fact that I have been able to keep my covenant with the people of Nevis by having a press conference every month. In 2017, when I took over as the leader of CCM and led the party into an election shortly thereafter, I made the commitment that if elected, I would have a press conference each month when members of the press would be afforded the opportunity to come and to ask their questions of me. I am now in 2024 and into my second term as Premier of Nevis, and I have kept that covenant. And each month we schedule a press conference where the members of the press can come and can ask their questions, when I can give an update on the various ministries and she field questions from the press. And we know we have a very robust press here. And so this Tuesday was no different. And so we engaged and had that conversation with the members of the press. One member of the press said to me that I had attended a groundbreaking ceremony for some villas that are to be built, but it had come to light that no villas were being built. It was just a private home for an individual. And I had to respond, because the reality that I have seen in Nevis now is that anything which remotely resembles progress is attacked by those in the opposition. They are very adept at doing research for all the wrong reasons. You recall that a company would have come here during COVID to make some movies. The NIA entered into an agreement with them. They honored their agreement to us, and we honored our agreement to them, and some 9 films were created here, including some like The Island that went on to do quite well. They attacked the people who came, cussed them, say all kind of things about them. The irony of that was that while they were attacking those who came to make movies here, the people had all of their people staying in an establishment that's owned by them and their supporters. The people had hired many people who were their supporters. The people had their catering and all that being done by their supporters, but they were attacking the people. Sound familiar? Just like this fellow who walking up at the complex and attacking the complex. We then had the indication that an investor who has come wants to partner with the NIA to develop the Van Samry Airport and to improve it for the benefit of everybody and for the benefit of the island. Next thing I know, they say that they have information from some hack of the man's information in France, and they start to collude with all kind of people to say all kind of things about the man. An attack because the man says he's willing to partner with the government to develop the airport. But when the airport is developed, not all of us going to use it. And I know that the opposition is going to use it when it's developed. You know why I know? Because they oppose the water taxi pier. And sometimes when I see them walking on it, taking the water taxi, I just smile because they were opposed to it. When I see them now over at the Mondo track exercising, their children running over there, I smile because they were opposed to that too. So now the latest is a businessman who has come, an investor. He says he's doing some ultra high-end luxury villas. When I went for the groundbreaking, the contractor is Surrey Paving. The AC man is Mr. Hines. The electrical man is Mr. Swanston. The plumber is Mr. Grant. All people that we know. All people that will be employing people here. I saw TDC and people like those there. No doubt they're going to be selling some materials. The people are introducing some new technologies in terms of not using steel and all that here. Our planning department was there. No doubt interested in seeing how these new technologies can assist in terms of our resilience and development here on the island. And within 24 hours, they took to the media to attack the man and accuse him of all kinds of things. I see what the evidence suggests, that there is a pattern of simply attacking, denigrating, opposing for the sake of opposing. They are opposed to Nevis developing, opposed to every investor that comes, even when they are the ones getting the benefit. There's supposed to be some hotel development. They had announced some time ago called Wyndham, and they've come back now, repurposed and repackaged, and said that it's actually a much higher end of the scale, and they're looking to do it in the St. Thomas's area. And I have smiled to myself. You know why I have smiled? The fellow that Wyndham has running around is an activist for the NRP. And just today I saw something saying that the person who's doing the EIA and all of that for the project is the leader of NRP. And so I believe I can confidently say tonight that that project won't have any criticism from them. I believe I can say that. And I have just looked and smiled. Because development is development. And investment is investment. And if we can attract investors and we can attract development, why is it we spend so much time attacking the people? Remember, part of their narrative is that there is no investment in Nevis. They say it and cry to the top of the hills. Oh, what I said, the investors out to see them now come ashore. But every time the investor come ashore, they cuss him. Cuss him. Say all kind of thing about him. And what they're trying to do is simply to create an environment of hostility where people say, you know what, this is not for me. I don't want to be here. That's what they're trying to do. And when that hostility is created and people leave, they then say, aha, we told you nobody wants to invest with them. But as I said, let us continue to do the best we can. And let us hope that our people continue to pay attention to what's going on, what's happening here. The numbers again are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. While we wait for the phone to ring, I'm going to continue to talk and to update you. At the press conference, I think it was Freedom FM that sent a question asking about this lawsuit that we have all now heard about, that has been brought by MSR Media against a number of individuals in the United States. And that lawsuit stems from alleged malpractice in the citizenship by investment program. And I was asked what advice I would give. Well, how I get in to be giving advice? Nobody has hired me as a lawyer. It's a legal matter. The lawyer's job is to advise their client. I'll get back to that. Let me take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Yes, on the mark. I get it. I hear Angela is said too about the lawsuit. But
yes.
I don't know how to do the lawsuit. But we got to be careful because only the passport, the marriage, and the tourist and tell everybody hello. Take care.
All right, thank you very much. So, we have this lawsuit that has been filed, and as the caller said, it's all over the news. It turns out that the lawsuit has been filed by the same people whom I brought to Nevis to make some movies. And so today, somebody drew my attention that there was a program on one of the radio stations. And I was actually quite surprised to hear that there were people calling into that program blaming me. I said, well, that is interesting. They said, is Brantley bring them here? I said, well, let me drink a little water. Forgive me, please. Brantley is to be blamed because Brantley bring them here. But I said Brantley brought them here to make movies. And they made the movies that Brantley brought them here to make. The other things that they've engaged themselves in over in St. Kitts, what that has to do with me? I wasn't part of those negotiations or discussions. So if they went to St. Kitts and they engaged with officials in St. Kitts, and they came to whatever arrangements they came with people in St. Kitts, what does that have to do with me? And now that allegations are flying fast and furious, forgive me, now that allegations are flying fast and furious, I don't hear anybody asking the question that should be asked. And to my mind, that question that should be asked is, are these allegations true? That is the question. Because if the allegations are true, then the finger should be pointed at those whom, according to the allegations, were involved in destroying the program. Somehow it seems that some of us, rather than dealing with what the obvious problem is, are prepared to look for scapegoats. Well, nobody gonna scapegoat me, because I wasn't involved in any shenanigans. I never take no money. I wasn't involved in any corruption. I was involved in none of that. Before God and man, my hands are clean. And that is why I was able to say yesterday in the press conference that the old people here have a saying. They say, those who have cocoa as sun must look for rain. I found it instructive that notwithstanding that I and the NIA brought MSR to Nevis to make films, to make movies, to help us to develop a film industry, that was our mandate to them. And that is what they came here to do. That notwithstanding, that was their first point of contact. And they have had an ongoing contact with us in the context of making movies and developing a film industry. You realize that nobody in Nevis is named in this lawsuit? I am not named. None of my colleagues are named. Nobody on the island of Nevis is named. So why do you think that is? Because we're lucky? Because MSR loves us? No. What it means is that there are no allegations in relation to us, because we have not involved ourselves in anything untoward or improper. I engaged MSR to make movies. I said to MSR, I want to develop a film industry. Help me to do it. And so all this other things that I am now hearing about and reading about, those things have nothing to do with me or my government. And I just want to make that very clear. I do not know whether the allegations, explosive as they are, in this lawsuit are true or false. That is why the court of law exists. MSR claims to have evidence of this and that. I have not seen any evidence. I do not know. I am not the judge. But I refuse to be a scapegoat for people. Because when MSR was in Nevis making movies, a lot of effort was put into telling MSR move to Sinkits and bring the whole kit and caboodle to Sinkits. I'll get back to that, but I go to the phones first. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening.
Hi, this is Florian William, of course, and are you waiting to hear my voice again?
Always.
Give an update about the walkathon on Saturday, the 1st of June. And we're going to start from the plot of land on the right-hand side below Cost Millis in Gingerland. And then we're going to go on to Pond Hill and divert to Zetlands, then to Rollins, and then from Rollins we're going to come down to the Gingerland police station, and then onto the main road and to the Pottergills Heritage Village, and that's when we're going to have refreshments given. And we have t-shirts still selling. They're $50 per t-shirt, and you can contact any member of the Renal Society, which my number is 669-3477. 669-3477. We still have t-shirts, so please call and support the Nevis Renal Society. And thanks to everyone, all the establishment, all the single persons who give a donation or contribution towards the event, and we're looking forward for the continuous support. And of course, Mr. Brandt, did you get my shirt today?
I don't know if it was delivered because I was busy outside the office today.
Yeah, I came by and your secretary said that you're probably out to a meeting or something, so I gave them to her.
All right, and you'll have my contribution as usual.
Of course, I know that, yeah. All right, so you take care and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Once again, thanks.
Thank you very much, and continue to do the excellent work.
Yes, so
You and the Renal Society.
See you on Saturday then?
No, you will not see me on Saturday. I have an important milestone in my life on Saturday.
Well, you're going to be really missing.
Well, I know you're going to miss me, but I'll be there with you in spirit. How's that?
Of course, yeah.
All right.
Okay, never mind. We still going to do what we have to do.
Absolutely,
okay?
I understand.
Once again, thanks.
And you'll have my contribution as always. Thank you.
I know that, definitely.
All right. Good.
Okay, you have a good evening.
All right, excellent.
Okay, then, bye-bye.
All right, that's the Renal Society there, and Florine Williams, of course, always coming and promoting what they're doing. So, Florine, thank you for that, and thank you for the excellent work that you and the Renal Society continue to do here. 25 minutes to the hour of 10. We're taking your calls, but while we wait for your calls at 869-469-1616 and 1700, I'll continue the conversation. I believe the public should understand that when MSR Media came to Nevis to make some movies, I was laughed at, and many thought it was an exercise in futility. Do we have a caller? Do we have a caller? Let's go back to the phones then. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hey, good night.
Yes, good
Hey,
night.
Florian. You know, put you going there, you know. Saturday.
You're going to walk Saturday, Pucci?
Yeah, man. Me just walk with them and the whole them good.
Okay. Well, I'm happy you're supporting. All
Hey,
right?
wrong man too.
Okay. Definitely.
I'll be.
All right, good. With Florin, you're getting some support. Pucci say he and Rohan going to be there, and I'm sure many others are going to be there as well. So definitely go out and support all of Nevis, the Renal Society. So many mocked us and said, "What movie them talk about the Nevis foolishness?" But we made one. I think what Weekend Paradise was the first one, and then rolled out 2 and 3, and then some people seem to say, "Boy, it looked like something serious is happening over in Nevis with this movie thing." I was in a government, the unity government, sitting in cabinet with colleagues. Every Monday we would have cabinet. And I would be reporting to them and telling them, yes, this is what is happening on Nevis, this is what we're doing with the movies, etc. Because I would have anticipated that if, as members of cabinet, we're looking to develop the country, well, if Nevis had the vision to get into the movie business and the film business, and it is and appears to be progressing, well, why not throw some resources behind it and say, let us see how we could help this thing to grow? But not. This government, that's not what happened. The next thing I know, I'm getting reports about all kinds of meetings that are happening in Nevis, in St. Kitts, and all over, between colleagues of mine sitting down next to me in cabinet, in the unity government, and the same MSR. And what the meetings are about: we want this movie industry, but we want you to move to St. Kitts. That's what it was about. And eventually, based on what I was told MSR was offered, MSR decided to move. In fact, I'm sure I still have the notice in my phone that they sent out to say that they will now be operating on the island of St. Kitts. The irony is that the usual NRP activists start to cuss me. Say, oh, look at him. He had them here and they gone. Mind they cuss them when they come. And when they gone, they cuss me and say, look, they gone. All right. MSR was at Kittishan Hill and they were doing all kinds of things in St. Kitts with La Vallée and all kinds of things. And then things didn't work out. MSR came back to Nevis and I said, listen, I've always asked one thing of you, is to make movies and help us build a film industry. And they went back to making movies. I think after that they must have made another 1 or 2. The government changed in St. Kitts in August of 2022. And MSR re-engaged with St. Kitts. And the next thing I heard, they had bought OTI Hotel and they sent out an indication, a notice that OTI will now be their base of operations. Again, the usual suspects in Nevis attack me. Oh, look at that. MSR gone St. Kitts and buy hotel long there now. Oh, Mark Brantley this and Mark Brantley stupid and he... Now what is everybody saying? It's a situation I look at and say, boy, sometimes you see people doing what it is they're doing. You don't understand it, leave it alone. You look at it and you feel like, oh, Nevis was on the cusp of creating some movie industry. And there was some, unfortunately, sitting right with me in the Unity Cabinet who were envious of that and who wanted to destroy it. It's not that they wanted a movie industry in St. Kitts, you know. They just did not want it in Nevis. And so they offer the sun, moon, and stars and tell them, come, come, but you can't stay over in Nevis and do it. You must come to St. Kitts. Well, they came, and now me hear all kind of lawsuit all around the world. So, Who's to blame? I feel that the allegations against those who have been named are explosive and tremendously damaging. I think the question, as I said, to be asked is, are those allegations true? And we will only know that once the evidence has been laid and a court has adjudicated. But those against whom those allegations are made will have to answer, because the allegations are quite specific and say in gory detail. In fact, the action runs, I believe, some 137 pages, if I recall. So, it is now in the hands of the lawyers and the courts, and they will have to deal with it. But I think it is instructive that the people of Nevis can have the confidence that their premier, the cabinet, the elected government, their officials are not caught up in any wrongdoing of any kind that could have led to them being sued in this manner. And I'm proud of that. Let's go to the phones and take these calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hi, Mr. Brantley. Florin again, please.
Yes,
Give
Florin.
me a minute.
Sure.
I was to tell the participants that we're going to start exactly 5:30 because we're going to have a warm-up session with David Walwyn before we start the walk. So we encourage everyone to come for 5:30, that they could have to get their warm-up, and then we start the walk exactly 6 o'clock. So listeners, please come out for 5:30 to get your warm-up session, and we start our journey at 6 o'clock. And thanks once again, Mr. Brantley. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm truly grateful that you have called back in and you've said that and you've clarified. I just wanted to say to you, though, that I've gone to a few of those, and I like the warm-up after, especially depending on who you have doing the warming up. Sometimes the warming up is so strenuous that I'm not able to do the walk after the warm-up. So, you know, I remember one time I was there, and Mansfield Nisbet was there, and I said, no, man, if Mansfield keeps up like this, I wouldn't be able to get home today. All right? So I like the warm-up after Florin. You're having the warm-up before. Well, I hope it goes well. And I expect that people are going to come out, because the work that you're doing is valuable work. So I ended that segment just by saying that I am actually very proud, and I feel vindicated that our ethos and style of government in Nevis has always and been consistently that we are not engaged in any hanky-panky. We will not engage ourselves in any corrupt practices. We will not engage ourselves in anything that could excite the courts or anything of that nature. That's not to say that some frivolous lawsuits and things haven't been filed against us, you know. I'm reliably informed that just this week, this fella, sometimes I can't remember his name, but he is most famous for his days at the CFBC and some, how should I say, some things that happened there that were unexplained. Let's just say that some funds that were meant for the bank fell off the truck on the way to the bank. And I gather that this individual would have gone on radio to say some things that were untrue about the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. The Honorable Alexis Jeffers would have responded, as he's entitled to do, by taking some action to clear his name. And to my amazement, this individual would have responded to the Honorable Alexis Jeffers by way of some kind of counterclaim, but sued me. Yes, you all heard right, you know. Sued me. Now what do I have to do with this mortal and his confusion? If I come on radio and I say something bad about Mr. X, and Mr. X sues me for saying something bad about them, how am I going to respond and say, oh, I want to also involve Mr. Y and Mr. Z, who know nothing about our conversation? So this week, apparently, the court struck out the counterclaim. Say, boy, chopping is your door. Go sit down. And ordered that some costs be paid. I'm told a couple $1,000 be paid in costs. And I hope that we can collect those costs and collect them forthwith. Because the NRP now seems to have a tradition where they want to interfere with you. They carry you to court. They engage in all kinds of things. But when the court tell them you got to pay, they don't want to pay. They refuse to pay. Right now, I believe it was just 2 weeks ago, I had to file 2 applications to say either you pay me my money or you go down to 1840. You spend some time at His Majesty's pleasure. Because the attitude now, and I'm not making any joke, because they are taking this thing too far. And it seems to me that they have no respect or regard for the court. So them trouble you know. Carry your court, drag you through all kind of thing, and then when the court says you have no case here, this was always nonsense, they refuse to pay. Well, we're going to have to see how barley grow. Because that cannot be right. It cannot be right. And so I am doing what I need to do to collect what is due to me. And I'm told that the judge just awarded some costs against this individual who like to talk things and attack people and don't know what he's saying. And as a consequence of that, we want to collect that too. I believe I'm going to tell the Honorable Alexis Jeffers that when you collect it, put it in the CCM kitty so that we could continue the good work that the party is doing. This is just the continued use of the court system, the continued use of every avenue, social media, to harass and to attack and to denigrate. And to what end? To what end? You know how much rum you have to boil to pay costs? There's a lot, you know. Let me go to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night.
How are you, my friend?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes.
Before I go any further, I would like to send out condolences to Sandra Kelly and family on the passing of her mom.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize her mom passed. I join you in extending condolences as well.
Okay, she used to listen to me every night I read my scripture.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read now from Ephesians chapter 6. I'm reading from verse 10. I will stop. Okay? Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness, the world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Here ended the reading of Scripture. And good night to you, Mr. Brantley, and may God bless you.
Good night to you, my friend, and thank you for the scripture. Beautiful as always. Thank you. God bless you too. It is 10 minutes to the hour, and we are taking your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. Now, leadership, government, running this island, running any country, being the person, the individual, the team that the public looks to for solutions, is not an easy undertaking. It is not for the faint of heart, nor frankly is it for those who come with the wrong idea. the wrong ideal, the wrong approach. It is not for those who come for self-aggrandizement or to enrich themselves. This lawsuit that has been filed in the US and that is making the rounds, in part, is a function and a product of people who came to government to enrich themselves. If the allegations are correct, then that is the only conclusion that we can arrive at. I have been profoundly proud of the team that we have, the individuals that comprise our team in the Concerned Citizens Movement, and the way that we have led this island. We have not been perfect. We understand that. But I think that it speaks for itself. That certainly since we've been back in government in 2013, and since I've been Premier in 2017, we have not had any scandals, any suggestion of corrupt practices that has impacted our government. That to me is important. It is not talked about. It is not perhaps mentioned on the talk shows. But we have quietly gone about our business, doing it in a way that instills confidence in our people. Nobody out there can with any credible evidence say as a government we've engaged ourselves in behavior that is untoward. And so we're not just talking about good governance, clean, transparent governance. We are demonstrating it. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yeah, Mr. Mark, well, all these lot of lawsuit, and everybody used to live good. I don't know why all these lot of lawsuit cost a lot of money, you know. Me never got money, we take much more for lawsuit. Alright, just pray and God will help you all through.
Thank you, my dear. And, you know, lawsuits are there to resolve conflict and resolve issues. And I'll be honest with you, as a lawyer myself, I'm happy that people use the mechanisms that are available to them to resolve disputes, because absent that, what would we do? People would take the law into their own hands and do things that we don't want them to do. So I don't fret that they are lawsuits. I fret sometimes that they are and can be frivolous, and many frivolous lawsuits have been filed against me. And there are times, of course, when those lawsuits would not have been necessary if people had conducted themselves the way that they should conduct themselves. And we can't continue to talk about good governance. We can't continue to talk about integrity in public life if we're not prepared to demonstrate that. And that's why, as I said, to date, I am happy that we have not had those kinds of allegations leveled against my government or the CCM party in government. And I'm proud of that. And I hope that my colleagues and I will continue on that path, because it's an important path that we not just say that we are transparent and open and that we have integrity, but that we show it. And so for me, the lawsuit that has been filed speaks volumes for what it says. It also speaks volumes for what it does not say. And I meticulously went through the 30-something pages, because I wanted to know if anything untoward or adverse was said about any of my team. And the answer was no. In fact, I think it's interesting and worthy of note that the only individual from the Team Unity cabinet that was named in that action was the former Prime Minister Timothy Harris. The Honorable Sean Richards was Deputy Prime Minister, no mention of him. The Honorable Mark Brantley, who was leader of CCM, the third party in the Troika, no mention of him. So Unity had three key leaders. The one who we entrusted to lead the team, Timothy Harris. Sean Richards, the leader of the largest party, the largest number of seats within Unity, PAM. And Mark Brantley, the leader of the second largest number of seats, the party with that CCM. PAM no get mentioned, CCM no get mentioned. Sean no get mentioned, Mark no get mentioned. One man get mentioned. As I said, some things speak for themselves. They say what they say, but they also sometimes speak volumes for what is not said. And I feel that I have tried to conduct myself in a particular way in terms of how I handle public life and anything to do with the public purse. And it is instructive, as I say, who has been named in that lawsuit, the allegations that have been made against them, and importantly, who has not been named. That, I think, is important. So when those come and want to scapegoat and gaslight, I am not part of that. And so long as I have an English tongue in my head, I'm prepared to speak, and to speak truthfully, openly and honestly to the people of Nevis and the wider Federation. And I believe that is something that our people need in terms of their leaders and in terms of the leadership of this island and of this country. I would invite, as I close off the show this evening, those who are interested to look at progress happening on the island to visit Pinneys Beach. I have family members who are here and are coming in, and was able to take them last night, well, accompany them last night to the Nevis Peak Brewery and to enjoy some locally brewed beer, first in the history of the island, and it was magnificent. They loved it. And I invite Nevisions to go and take a look. Go and see for yourself. Don't just listen to me, or for that matter, don't just listen to the naysayers. Go and take a look for yourself. I believe that those who are coming in from outside in particular are going to be astonished by what they see. I end the show. It is now 10 o'clock, but I cannot end without saying happy 60th birthday to my friend Clifford Bumbo Walwyn. He had a wonderful event to celebrate his 60th. He came home, back to his roots, to celebrate it with his family. Unfortunately, Bumbo, I couldn't be there with you because, as I explained, I had some pressing matters to deal with. But I'm told that you had a good time, and I saw my deputy premier and cousin Eric posting some pictures. I want to thank the whole family for their love and support, and to say to you, Bumbo, happy birthday. I wish you at least another 60, and you're still one of the best batsmen Nevis ever produced. So Clifford Bumbo Walwyn, happy 60th birthday, and we end our show on that happy note. Good night to everyone. Thank you for being a part of the show, for your calls, for your love and support. I pray and hope that God will continue to bless us and have mercy on us all. Have a good night and a great sleep tonight, and wake up tomorrow to a new day with new possibilities, where you wake up and you say, let me be the best that I can be today. Good night, and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.